Welcome to Sister Friends. I'm Angie Gray here with my amazing friend,
ReShonda Young.
and together we're diving into what's at the heart of it all, relationships.
From finances and family to the ups and downs of life partnerships, and even those relationships we have with ourselves, we're here to talk about the real stuff.
We're not shying away from the hard conversations, we're leaning into them because we believe that when we start talking, we start understanding.
And when we understand, we grow in empathy, compassion, and connection.
So grab a seat,
Grab a friend, and let's
get into it. Okay, holy moly. All right, hi.
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 Hello.
I'm Angie Gray.
And I'm ReShonda Young.
And we are Sister Friends. Thank you all, Sister Friends and other friends, for joining us. We had quite the afternoon trying to get ready for this. This is just a little background scenes. ReShonda was early today, and so I was like, come early. And then she's like, okay, I'm coming early. And I was completely not ready.
A good hour early.
You were an hour early.
Or more.
And I was stuffing my face with my cereal, which there's a story behind that. But anywho, then we didn't have batteries for our thingy, and I'm running around the house trying to find cords, and that took us 45 minutes. We ended up just getting back from Dollar General with our batteries, so we were good to go. But
we are good to go.
This does not happen without some real effort, folks. Especially when I'm involved. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, that's both of us. What are you talking about?
What were we talking about on the way home? Oh yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Today we decided that we would catch everyone up on pies. You all are such great support, and we get all this feedback that you are liking our podcast, and we're so grateful. Keep liking us, please. We love it. It's important to know. It's great to know that the reason we do it is to hopefully it's fun, first of all.
It is fun.
It's time with you.
I know. It's what we do. We just have microphones and a camera.
Yeah. And back to our whole idea of even doing it was the things we talk about. I feel like they're meaningful to me, and we're like, they're meaningful to you, and we should just do it. We should just see, because we want to be part of supporting women. And so anyway, thank you for your support and for listening.
We appreciate it.
Keep liking and subscribing and sharing your comments and stuff with us. So what we get on the outside, out on the street, people are stopping us all the time. And anyway, I was going to put out today officially to be saying like, okay, so what would you like us to talk about? Is there anything you want to know about ReShonda or myself, or whatever? And then I was like, what if I put it out there and nobody says anything? That'd be embarrassing. So I started soft. I did a little soft launch of that question, and send it to my kids. And because they are always like, we want you to talk about this, talk more about this. They mostly want to know more about ReShonda. They don't need to know any more about me. But I think that is the consensus.
And I think, but probably for the broader audience, people want to know about both of us.
For sure. I mean, and that's what I'm getting to. Yes, my kids only want to know about you, but my the audience that we do, they want to know. So I'm like, that's such a broad thing. What do you mean? Like, I feel like we go pretty deep,
I think so.
And when people, though, how do you feel like when my kids even say that? Like, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, okay, how much deeper do we go? Because I feel like we've gone, and now it starts to feel more vulnerable, like,
it's very vulnerable.
Yeah.
But I think that's important because
it is.
Nobody wants to see like a bunch of, or a couple of phony women
living
these perfect lives that they can't relate to. And then, it's just another social media type of thing where everybody puts out, all the great things about themselves, and behind closed doors, it's like this big mess falling down, and that's fine. But that's not what we're here for.
No. And I feel like, if anything, we've been mostly opposite of that. I agree. But that is what I love, and that's what we do. And I always only want to do that. I want to share all the joys and the awesome stuff. And sometimes, even with like, I don't know, even when I'm sharing content like on LinkedIn, you're trying to, as a thought leader, you're trying to, be curious in your own life and ask questions. Okay, what do I have that I can share today? What would be meaningful? And it always comes back to what am I going through? Are there any things that that are relevant to me, and that's usually what we're talking about too, our lives right now. And sometimes life is just so good, and that's fun also to
It
be able to
is.
share, like, okay, this is happening. So today, when I asked my kids that, so before I called you and I said, okay, so like, what are we going to talk about on Thursday or Wednesday? And you're like, why don't we visit pies again, which was on course for the question of learning more about us. So we're
Right.
going to talk a little bit about pies again today, and we're going to try and go a little deeper for whatever that means, and just
Yeah.
be
And
mindful of that.
and for anyone who is just tuning in and you don't know what pies is, we're not talking
Yes.
about like apple pie, cherry pie,
No.
blueberry pie, although that would be really good for you right now.
Oh God.
It would
Okay,
be
we'll
really
tell
good
you
for
why
you.
in a moment, but
Anyway,
gross.
but that's our check-in of how we are each doing physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah. And but pies is a fun question, PS. Did we do that? What is your kind of favorite kind of pie? I feel like we asked this before, but maybe we didn't.
I really don't eat pie, but
Okay.
when
If
I
you did.
did, when back in the day when I
Right.
did,
Yes.
sweet potato pie was my favorite.
I've never had that.
Really?
It sounds delicious because I love sweet potatoes.
Yeah. And my
I
least favorite was pecan.
really, how can we be friends?
I
Because
know, right?
I don't also have very much occasion to eat pie, like really who does? But we should plug your friends that have, what's the place?
Try pie.
Try Pie.
Yes.
If you are a pie eater, you should go to Try
You
Pie.
should go to try pie.
They're amazing, and they're in Waterloo, and they make great pies. I think mine is pecan.
Okay.
I think so. It's so sugary though.
Yeah, even when I ate the sugar, that was way too much.
Do you know what I actually say? We do these intimacy questions with my sister. My little sister Erin brought this up years ago, and she's like, "Let's do intimacy questions when we get together." And it just means like asking. You start out with like this warm up question, and that was one of them. So the warm up question would be, "Do you like?" You'd be like, "Do you like? Are you cake or pie?"
Cake.
Me too. Oh, that's why we're friends.
That's
That's
it.
it. Done.
Yeah.
We're done. Thank you for joining us. So cake or pie, and then it might be, are you a lake or oceans?
Oceans.
Okay, I'm a lake. All the way I'm a lake. What are some other ones?
But honestly, it doesn't really matter. I just love being near
By the
water.
water, yeah.
I don't necessarily like for my body to be in the water, but I love being by the water. So any body of water is amazing.
Okay, one more and then we'll get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
I think me too. Although I like a combo. I'd like both, please.
Right?
Yeah, if I'm going to
Let's just
have a
have it
little something,
all.
something salty, I'd like a little something, something sweet.
Yeah, let's just have it all.
Like a popcorn. And since it was Easter, I had a Cadbury egg. 100%. They're my
Oh,
favorite.
okay. I did not
You know
know
that what
that.
kind it is? It's not the caramel. Gross. There's no caramel in it. They make those. They should never have done that, but they're the kind with the white stuff inside, like that. I don't know what it's called, but Cadbury
Is it
eggers
like
everywhere.
nougaty? Like a nougat?
Nougaty, yes, with like a
Whatever that
fake
is.
yellow thing in there that looks like the yolk of an egg. It's
Gotcha.
really good for you. Anyway, so sweet and salty. Okay, so we're gonna talk about pies, and we're gonna intentionally go a little deeper. Let's just like really mindfully go there.
Okay.
Okay,
And
and
I'm looking
you can
for
stretch me, and I'll try and stretch you.
okay. And you are maybe going to shock me with
Well,
something
I might shock you
today.
with something. I think it was the diet thing that we were talking about earlier with
Oh,
the
okay.
4,000 calories. Wow. But I also want to say, this is what I learned about ReShonda before we started this, and we were in the chaos of, oh my God, where are all the batteries? And if you could see behind this camera, there are cords everywhere and batteries and catchphrase games that we're trying to dig batteries out of. And anyway, before we started, we were chatting while we were in the chaos. And what did you say? I was like, you were talking to me about a book that I'm gonna smash, and we're gonna talk about it on our next recording. Okay.
Yes, it's called Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss, Weiss. For if any of you also want to
Read it. Yes,
read
please
it.
do that. Yeah.
Read or Audible, either way.
Yes. Yes, I will audible that because I'm also reading a really awesome other book. All right, so little break and we're back and we're talking about pies. Okay, so the book, we're talking about that. Oh, I know. So we always tell you guys that we're learning so much about each other. And here's why, okay? It's all coming together. So we're sitting there and she's saying about this book, and part of the book talks about this woman who has a lot of fears or something. And so she goes to see this psychotherapist that's very recommended, highly recommended,
Yep.
very like world-renowned dude. And she starts seeing him. He does this hypnotherapy, talks about past lives. Now, I have years of understanding of what's not your mainstream in health and wellness and spirituality.
Yep.
And all these things. That's a good way to say that, right? Like I have years of this, like for, I don't know, like Levi's kind of started around when Levi was a baby, but I think been prepped for it for years before that, looking back. But so Levi's 24, it's about 24 years. So when ReShonda and I met, we were friend dating, like we've shared, I felt like I was being really careful about because of my, what would you call it? Like sometimes people would say eccentricities is another word.
Sure.
Something like that. But I was careful about it. And so anyway, so she says this about the book and I go, oh, past lives. Interesting. I said, and how do you feel? I didn't know that you kind of were into that. She goes, this is what she goes, oh, Angie, there's so much you don't know. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I go, I have been so careful my whole friendship with you with that stuff because I don't want you to think I'm weird. I didn't want you to break up with me or something. And she's like, oh no, all my friends think that. All my friends think. And she goes, well, because people don't ask. People are like, why didn't you tell me that? And you're like,
because you didn't ask.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. Okay. So from now on, our agreement now is
you will ask.
Oh, you added that just now. I said before that, I said, I am like super invasive because I'm very interested. I am very interested in you. I'm interested in in people.
And I think it's because I've never been one to talk much about myself.
Yeah.
So I just figure if somebody wants to know something, they'll ask.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Nothing wrong with that.
I don't know.
But now we have a new agreement. New agreements. Did FDR do that? The new agreement? Who's that? Some president did something.
The New Deal.
The New Deal.
Yeah.
God. Okay. How kind of you not to make fun of me there. The new agreement was close.
It was.
But anyway, so you are going to now, I will make it clear that I'm curious.
Yes. And
I'll be like, that's my cue. Okay. Anytime I go, no, what's Austin Powers? Okay. That's what I'm going to do. That's our signal. Okay. And you're going to do what we're going to do today.
Okay.
We're going to die. Oh, did you see her eyebrow right there? She's like,
what are we doing?
We're just going to be mindful. We're going to go there. We're going to go deep.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay. So physically, you go. Physically, how are you?
Physically, I feel amazing.
You look excellent.
I feel so great. As I was driving out here today, I was just thinking like, I feel so stinking good.
Yeah.
Like mentally, physically, I feel good.
Yeah.
And as much of our audience knows, I'd gotten the cancer diagnosis in November. Yeah. And so much. And this maybe goes deeper than just physically.
Good.
But maybe I had shared this with you. From the time I was a little girl, if there was one thing that scared me, it was cancer. Mm-hmm. And this journey has just flipped that all around. Mm-hmm. I thank God I don't recall feeling fear, and God has been so faithful in answering my questions. Like the grace that he gives to each of us is just amazing. Just as I think through like, oh, do I do this? Do I do that? God, what do you want? How do you want to heal me? All the things. And sometimes we aren't doing what he says to do. I know I do this check-in. It wasn't just an initial check-in. I continuously check in like, okay, God, am I on your path? Mm-hmm. Am I on the plan? Mm-hmm. And maybe 3-4 weeks ago when I was asking the question, I heard no.
Oh, you did not tell me
I didn't tell you that? And with the no, he also showed me like, yeah, there was great purpose in you going to Hippocrates, but I did not mean for you to follow man's plan that was not in alignment with my plan.
Mm.
And his focus for me has been balance.
Mm-hmm.
And Hippocrates is amazing, wonderful, and great. Um, but it's not a balanced approach. Um, I think there's 2 days a week where fruit is allowed. And of course, there are no animal products.
Mm-hmm.
And, what God was showing me, that what he has for me is balance. He did not call those things bad. Man called those things bad. And so,
meaning meat
or
case.
fruit. And so he also showed me like the list that I had written down of what he wanted me to get. And on that list were fruit and animal products, as well as vegetables and herbs. And so, there are times where, we just need to check in. It's not a one and done.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the more I check in and the more I continue just to try and be in alignment with what he wants me to do, I feel like I feel better and better.
Yeah.
And not to say that I ever felt bad. I never felt bad. I never felt sick. I never felt weak. I never felt any of that. Once again, God's amazing grace. Because as you know, because you were at the appointments with me, it was, you need a mastectomy. You need chemo. And I think they mentioned radiation, and it was like, now,
Yeah.
And that was not what God was telling me. And once again, it's like, are you going to follow man's plan or my plan? And because I have been hard-headed in the past, not following, and I'd say especially probably in my 20s, but even beyond that, but a lot, it seems like then, just trying to find my way. I know that even when God's plan seems scary for me, it's always the best plan for me, He's just, his plans for us are good. And I totally trust that, even when man and experts are saying, oh no, you need to do this,
Yeah.
And so, and I say, everybody, when they're on a health journey, is on their own journey, life journey. We're all on our own journey. But with a cancer diagnosis and, for some people, chemo, surgery, radiation, that might be the path.
Mm-hmm.
And for others, it may not be. No matter what that decision is, though, boy, is it a big decision.
Yeah.
It is a big decision. It's a big decision to say no to it, to some or all. And it's a big decision to say yes to some or all.
Yeah.
So, but physically, I feel super amazing. I'm continuing to do ozone therapies.
Yeah, can we say that? I want to say too, thank you for sharing that. And I want to concur that, or if that's just that, I have shared this with you and just a few people, that I, as your friend, being there with you and along on this journey with you, also never felt fear. I've also never had a friend that's had cancer or was diagnosed with cancer, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I have, but not like you and me.
Yeah.
That close. And it was like kind of like an out of body experience where I could hear myself having like these thoughts of sitting in the room in Iowa City.
Yeah.
Doctor comes in and he's saying these things and you're just calm. And you had told me these things before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're feeling like God's like, cool if you want to, but you don't have to, kind of thing. And, but you had a couple of very clear things, no chemo.
And no radiation.
No radiation. Surgery was kind of like if you want to. So you were figuring that out, right? You're talking,
right, from
doing
the
your work,
asking God.
Yes, praying about that. But my experience was I didn't have any fear, or I never felt any place to feel like I had to I know this might sound weird because it isn't. I know clearly in my mind that it's not my journey,
Yeah.
and I know that like the best case scenario to say is you're there for your friend. You ask your friend,
Mhm.
what do you need? How can I be here for you, the best support? Like that is the best thing to do, I think.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that that feels the same inside,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
It could
Yeah.
feel like, holy shit, what do you mean you don't want to have surgery? What do you mean you don't want to have
Right.
chemo or radiation? What do like what? No, like, and have some sort of urgency to get in there, out of your own fear, right? This is going to make
Yeah.
me all verklempt. But I did not have that. I can't, and that has got to be, I mean, yes, maybe maturity also
Yeah.
and trust, but I'm just grateful, whatever it was. I'm so grateful that I had that peace. And I do think it also came from your peace. It was infectious. And I think
Mm.
you should share it with them what the doctor said then. That same doctor who was like, pretty quickly, here's what you should do. Then ReShonda said, and here's what I'm thinking. And he was good, but can you tell them that part?
Okay, which part? Because there were a couple
So the
things I'm
part where
thinking.
you were like, well, I don't know if I want to do that,
Yeah.
and he was a little taken back at first, and he was like, okay, I think I can come up with some alternatives, but I think
Right.
probably all of them are going to have chemo, but maybe not as much chemo
Right.
is what I think his final answer. I thought he did great for
He was
being
good.
having to pivot and not
Right.
knowing exactly what to do. But
Yes.
then you told me later that when your next talk with him,
Yeah. So, and I told him I was not interested in chemo or
hmm
radiation. And so he said he would come back with some other options. And so he was going to a conference, so he's going to call me on that Monday, which he did. And I'll say he's a very kind man.
should we say who he is?
I can't remember his name.
Oh shoot, real big impression.
That's so
Wow,
terrible.
yes.
It's so terrible because I've talked to him multiple
Oh
times.
my gosh, we'll
Yeah.
try to remember his name.
Yeah,
We
because
will.
he's a very kind
Yeah, I was
human
really
being.
impressed. Yeah.
And so he called back with more chemo and radiation options.
Oh.
Yeah. And so with that call, I said, well, hey, do you know what's going on with my blood work? And I knew the answer because none of my doctors had requested to get blood work except for to do the diagnostics to see if any of it was genetics, which I knew that it was not genetic.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was epigenetic.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was silent because he knew that the answer was no. And I said, if you saw how low my white blood cell count is, you would know that the chemo that you are recommending would probably take me out.
Yeah.
It would probably take me out. And he says, and he was kind of silent. And he said, ReShonda, you told me before no, and I'm really sorry. And I heard you, but I'm listening to you now. And if you don't mind, I would like to continue to be part of your team and to check in on you, which was really great. Like, that was really, really
I
great.
mean, unfortunate that he wasn't aware of what blood work was.
Right.
For sure.
And fortunately, like, God just aligned everything up so
Yeah.
amazing for me that I had gone in to get blood work done the day before getting the diagnosis with Violet and
Yeah.
Megan with the Functional Medicine Center
Yeah.
because I just didn't feel like I was getting the thoroughness of blood work done by my allopathic physicians.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Because there's other reasons for that, right? Because we have never really gone into great depth about all the things we've touched on, a little bit of things, the challenges that you've had health wise, and
yeah.
so blood work was because your white count or your blood. You just do it. You'll
Well,
do a better
I
job.
wanted to understand better, like where my thyroid function
Yeah.
was. I wanted to understand better, like where my A1C was, my vitamin D levels. I wanted to understand all of these things, which literally I'd never had an A1C test. I had
Mm.
never had like a full panel
Mhm.
thyroid test. My vitamin D levels, I've never seen them checked. Those things are so
You
incredibly
have to
important.
ask. You have
And
to ask.
yeah, and even when I asked about hormone testing, oh, I think it was March when I had gone in for my annual.
A year ago.
a year ago, March,
Mm-hmm.
right? So 6-8 months before
The
the
diagnosis.
diagnosis. It was just, it was not the full Dutch test panel that I had done with the functional medicine doctors.
Okay, so that's why you went in, because you're like,
I just wanted to
as
know
this
what's going
journey,
on.
yes, and as your journey has gone on, as
Mm-hmm.
mine,
Mm-hmm.
you were finding out more and more what you don't know,
Right.
and that if we need to ask for these things, vitamin D levels should be checked, and most of the time
Mm-hmm.
they're not. Like things that we think that are just going to be done routinely are not.
Right.
So many things.
Right.
So really being able to talk to your doctor about, and so hopefully some of the things that we're talking about will spark some ideas or thoughts, for you all that, oh, have I had that done? Have I had this
Mm-hmm.
test done? And so really, really encourage you to ask for these things, especially if you're over 40. But anyway, so you went in because you're learning more and more about what you don't know, and you're trying to put pieces together, and you want to live your
Right.
best life, man. You're just like, I
Absolutely.
want to live. I've had some challenges health wise,
Yep.
and so I want to live my best life. So you
And
go
I
in.
also knew, like, I knew my pancreas was working way too hard because I could feel it.
Mm.
Like, that's one of, I'll say it's a
How did that
blessing.
present?
I could just feel um, when I'd eat certain things, or if I ate too much,
Mm-hmm.
I could feel like almost a burning, which was my pancreas just pumping out insulin.
Mm.
And when I would have my fasting glucose checked, it was always within normal range. But that doesn't tell me really what's going on. Oh, and I had my fasting insulin tested as well.
Mm.
So that had never been tested before. Fasting glucose is one thing, but it doesn't tell you enough, because your pancreas, like mine, could have been working overtime, producing way too much insulin to keep your glucose in line, because your body wants to stay in this homeostasis,
Yes.
place. And so getting that checked, and like all the things. And so thankfully, even like before getting the diagnosis, I had already gone in to get those things done.
Yeah.
And then so thankful to Violet and to Megan. Violet made it a point to go ahead and meet with me sooner than what was planned so that she could go through the blood work. And there were things that she is like, have you, when she asked me if anyone in my family was ever diagnosed with MS based on one of the markers that
Mm-hmm.
was presenting for me. And I was like, yeah, my younger sister. And she's like, okay, we need to keep an eye on, on this. And she gave me some things to support my body. And then that made me also say, okay, now do your own deep dive research and see what else maybe you could be or should be doing. Because I mean, there are a lot of things that lie dormant within our bodies.
Yeah.
And a traumatic event, which I'd say was with my cancer diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
was probably lying dormant. And the trauma that I experienced those, 12 months or so before the diagnosis, that was really the trigger. And if MS is something that is lying dormant, I needed to not wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And so what things should
Right.
I be doing? So grateful that one, that God led me to her
Mm-hmm.
and to Megan, and then that she's knowledgeable enough to know, like, okay, like that had been looked at, like in the past,
Mm.
but nobody ever identified that this is something that was like,
Really?
yeah, yeah. So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
So you had known that. There's so many things, even just in that, that I want to make sure that we're talking about, just that how important it is. So let's just grab one little piece of that, and that is the Dutch test. That the Dutch test is
Mm-hmm.
more than a hormone test. But
It is.
I'm listening to the Dutch podcast. Have you
Mm-hmm.
started listening to that? Do you listen to that?
I don't.
Oh, okay. So there's a podcast, and I just want to say it's called the Dutch Podcast, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But it's very, very sciencey. So it was cool, but I don't think I could listen to it like every single day. But it was really, really interesting. My friend Michelle Clark, who is also a functional medicine doctor, turned
Mm-hmm.
me on to it. But anyway, this Dutch test I highly recommend for all of you women. It is the best
For sure.
hormonal test that you can take. It's super thorough.
Mm-hmm.
Your insurance will not pay for it. It was $500. Very, very worth it. Highly
It was worth
recommend
it.
Dr. Violet Hunter and Megan over at Cedar Valley. What's it called?
Cedar Valley
Cedar
Functional
Valley Functional
Wellness.
Wellness
Right.
Center, I
Functional
think.
medicine.
Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Violet Hunter, and you can find her on the internet, whatever. And then there's another functional medicine here in town, but this is the test that we highly recommend. That's what you went and got, and it was because you had that and you knew what your white blood count was before. Then you're like, hey, why y'all want to start me on chemo?
Right. It would
Why
have
isn't no
wiped
one saying
me
anything about
out.
this?
Why
Yeah,
has nobody tested this
you're right.
except for me? Like,
Yeah. So most people are going in and they're having, if with a cancer diagnosis, that this is the way to go. Like, this is the traditional Western medicine way to go. We're going to get on it with chemo, radiation, and surgery if necessary. And again, you're not saying don't do that. You're
I'm not.
saying, gosh, we want to encourage everyone to have all the information and
Right.
be your own advocate, and even really to get second opinions. Highly recommend a functional medicine doctor
For
that is going
sure.
to see and give you all the options for everything, and will also work with your regular oncologist. They work
Oh,
often
absolutely.
together. So,
Yeah.
anywho,
Yeah. And the other thing was like you need to do this right now. Like,
yeah,
we need to get you scheduled right now. And I'm so grateful. So grateful that God showed me things I did not know he was showing me. And then he brings them back to my remembrance.
yeah,
So that I know that was a huge part of me being calm, because what he showed me was this has been there for quite a while.
kind of like
There
the
is no
MS thing. Did
hurry.
that come to your mind? Like, so the MS thing was just sort of those kind of sort of things that could be are also there, and we all have cancer cells, but
Right.
so so God was just saying, so it's
He's
been here,
It's been
it's
there.
cool.
Yeah, he was saying it's been there. And the other thing is the symptoms and signs that some of them that I was having, they had already started to regress. Like,
Mm.
there was already healing going on. And I know this. There was already healing going on before I ever got diagnosed.
Mm.
Because what I did not know necessarily that were symptoms, and it's like, oh, I don't have that anymore.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't have that anymore.
Mhm.
It was all those things. So I knew that there was a regression, and there wasn't much in me, I guess, even though cancer was something that was like that I feared, you know, it wasn't something that I necessarily dove into and studied until now. I did
Yeah.
a whole cancer course of all the pathways and that cancer can follow, and all these like natural supplements and medical, pharmaceutical drugs that can target these pathways. I mean, I did that course in like less than a week. It was pretty much a weekend,
Yeah.
like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's a course that's supposed to take, I don't know how many weeks, but I mean, I just dove into it and then went back through and back through so I could have a mental understanding, a deep knowledge, the
Yeah.
science of all the things. The thing that I really appreciated about the course that I did, which was with Jane McClellan, is the creator of that course. And the thing that I appreciated was that she did the traditional path, and then the cancer came back, and it came back worse.
Her personally.
Her personally. And it came back worse. And it was pretty much like, say your goodbyes kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, as she's laying there in the worst shape she could ever think to be in, she's like, as long as I'm thinking and breathing, I need to figure this out. Like, nobody else is going to help me at this point. What they have to offer me, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
They're already telling me this. And so she went into figuring out, both on the natural side and on the pharmaceutical side of things, what has already been studied and proven. And it is amazing, the work that she did. But it showed me, and it not even just showed me, we all know, if we cut our finger right now, we don't have to go and sew it up unless it's like a deep
Yeah.
gash or
Yeah.
something. Our body knows how to heal.
Mm-hmm.
When we give our body the right environment,
Yes.
it knows how to heal.
Yep.
And that's not exclusive of cancer. When we give our bodies the right environment, physically, emotionally, mentally, our body knows what to do a lot of times. And I had to even go through, and as I talked to my body and I apologized to my body, I think I told you about that, where I was just walking through my home and I'm like, gosh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry for the things that I know I did that contributed to it. And people oftentimes they want to say, well, you didn't contribute anything to it. And it's like, but I did. But I did. It's not like I was intentionally saying, oh, I want to get a cancer diagnosis. Like, who does that? But there are things that I know I did. And so I'm not looking for somebody to say, oh, no, don't take responsibility.
Yeah.
No, I need to take responsibility.
Yes.
Because if I don't, then am I going to change anything?
And also, what a great example that is. Because you're right. You don't see and I'm thinking about a movie that I just watched that was really good. I really, really liked it, but in no place did they, and she ended up passing, but there was no talk about that. You always hear, I feel like I don't have any place to say anything because I haven't experienced that personally with my own body and my own health, but you're right that you don't hear anyone talking about their responsibility, meaning how they could have loved their body, their mind differently. Not that you're not shaming or guilting yourself,
No, not
but
at
the
all.
responsibility, because then that empowers. And then it's also a great example, and it's a new conversation we're having about prevention again.
Right.
Like what we can do to live a life cancer-free.
Right. Because if I contributed to my illness, I can contribute to my wellness.
That's right.
I can contribute both ways.
Right.
And so as I apologize to my body for, the lack of sleep, the running more than I should have been, putting other people and their needs before my own, just, the stress that I allowed my body to be under, that I had control over a lot of that, like most of that. And I neglected, to actually do the right thing. And so, and then I just told my body, thank you for the warnings that you gave me. Thank you for being so strong and resilient. Thank you for serving me so well. And now I'm here to help you.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was, oh man, it was empowering to do that, to just apologize and let my body know I am now here working with you to help you get well.
This partnership. Yeah.
As a partnership. Whew.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. We can go on to you now. Yeah.
I also want to say about that is, before you started sharing that part, we shared how we don't want to be fake. We're not here. We're here we want to go deep. So I felt the stretchiness of the kids saying they want more. And it felt vulnerable because I felt like I'm already doing that. So then it feels like, oh, more. Okay. And yes. And oof, at the same, like all those at the same time. So when you're talking about, it's hard because I feel like I just have this belief and I have faith. I have experienced tremendous challenges. Relationship wise, some physical and those things, but I don't know why, but I think it just must be God and just this real assurance that I've always had in that it's going to be okay. I don't know what that looks like, and it might be gut-wrenching in the moment.
Yeah.
But and when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about my divorce. Probably that's the first thing that comes to me is that was gut-wrenching pain.
Yeah.
But my point is that talking about being vulnerable and we wouldn't be fake. Remember I said but sometimes it's just so happy, and that's really actually not fake.
Right.
So when you're sharing this, this could have been, and I'm sure it was, like, I want you to, but if it wasn't, do you know what I mean? Like, you're talking about these things, and there's just this rainbow of loveliness around it, but that's because it's not because you don't feel, or you're this Pollyanna, and Pollyanna isn't a bad
Yeah.
thing, PS, but like you're ignoring or you're faking things. It's like
Mhm.
really like, oh shit, this could have been bad, or it was, we cried, when you found out, we did have tears, but it was more like, okay, and
Yeah.
then so I don't know what I'm trying to say is, except for just share. I'm grateful, I guess, that there isn't this part of you that's hating. I do remember that. Remember, like when I was like, I don't ever want to say, how did I say that? About hating cancer. And you see a lot of t-shirts and stuff. I'm going to kick cancer's ass. I'm going to do all these things. Again, I've not had it. I support everyone and whatever their journey is.
Yeah.
I just remember also sharing with you what I had heard is to love your body, love the
Right.
cancer. Cancer doesn't hate you. Cancer has no feelings. So it's just something in your body that is responding out of some sort of stress somewhere that's happened, like you said. So instead of hating on something, it's always better to love on something,
Right.
so to embrace the healing process.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't know if that any of that made sense, except for it's interesting to listen to you talk about it, and it's not horrible.
No. No. There was the shock
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of like, I can't even believe this. There was
Yeah.
that shock. Um, but like real tears, I feel like didn't come until I was in Florida and I had a thermography done. And it was a thermography, for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically it shows areas of hot spots and inflammation. It'll start to detect things even sometimes before they actually manifest based on inflammation and heat patterns within your body. And so when that was done, and it's non-invasive and all of that. So when that was done, it was the Sunday before I was leaving Florida. And when the technician is looking at everything and I'm sitting across, I'm like, oh crap, because she's just like looking, it's taken her a while, it seems like.
Oh, okay.
And she's looking and she's like, her face is like, kind of, and I'm like, crud, I've come here and I feel so great. And it didn't work, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but how could that be?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then she's like, ReShonda, come around to the side. And so then she pulls, she's showing me the imaging and she's like, I don't see anything. She's like, I don't see any inflammation there. I don't see it. That was the point where I cried. That was the point where I cried. She's like, keep doing what you're doing. I also had a Reiki session while I was there.
Yeah.
And the young lady who did it, I felt very safe with her. And I prayed about that before having it done, So I felt very safe, very comfortable with doing it. And so when we were talking beforehand, and I said, the energy of cancer has been leaving my body all along, and I know this. And during that session, as she did whatever she did, she got down to my feet near the end and she did this sweeping thing. And even though, just like with most of the therapies while I was there, I'd fall asleep a little bit and I'd wake back up and I'd fall asleep. So I was doing that there as well. But when she did that sweeping through my feet, tears just started to flow. It was like this overwhelming, I don't even know. I don't even know what happened. But afterwards, when we were done, she's like, is there anything you want to talk about or what are you thinking? Or, and I just said to her, I said, when you swept through my feet, I was like, and unexpected, overwhelming, like tears just started to flow down the sides of my face as I'm laying there. Not like this sobbing thing, but just like, whoa, and I couldn't stop it. And she's like, the energy of cancer was leaving. She said, but it's gone now. Mm. And she's like, that's what you felt. And then we hugged, and it was just like, what the world, it's something more than nothing, because even though like we tear up all the time here, I'm not a crier.
No, me either, really.
Right? And so I just knew it was something. And then so yeah, those were my teary times there.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I have one more question about that.
Yeah.
Then we'll get to me, I promise. Did you ever have a feeling of like you did actually, because you just shared that with me, like when you're waiting for the thermography and you're like, oh, oh crap.
Yeah, because I'm sitting there looking at her face, and I'm like,
oh. So like, like having the feelings of, oh yeah, like I'm doing this for nothing, or like if you don't keep up the thoughts, the right ones,
the right ones.
If I let them down, if I let my guard down, if I have a real negative thought, or if I enter into doubt, like it's just not going to work, and I got to be on at all times. Do you know?
Yeah.
Here's the honest to God truth. As you're talking to me, just now, I had a thought of, and this is so sad, but I had this thought of, oh, I wonder, I don't even want to say it out loud, actually. Like if I got cancer, if I got a diagnosis of that, I wonder if I would be the one that couldn't keep their thoughts up enough. And that's why I'm glad that you said at the beginning, it isn't a my faith is strong enough thing. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I think that's for me, I think that's so important and to say, and I know, I think for you too, like it's not my faith was strong enough. I had that mustard seed, so whatever. I don't know what it is. Can't claim to know. But I just thought that. I thought myself like, gosh.
There's a book called Radical Remissions. And it's another really great book. And it talks about cancer patients who have had what doctors call radical remissions, because their bodies healed without traditional methods. And one of the things that's talked about in that book is how it was a theme that most people who had radical remissions had a belief that their treatments were working.
Yes.
They had a very strong belief. Whether they were spiritual or not, they had a belief that what they were doing was working.
Yep.
Our minds are super powerful.
Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. Our thoughts, we think, I talk about it all the time. It's like one of my branding things is to think differently. I believe that God has given us, that is our greatest gift. Like it is our greatest gift, the way we choose to think about whatever it is. That is the miracle. The miracle happens when we change the way we think.
Right.
It is. It just, and think of every situation in life. If you think it's negative and you change your mind about it, even if it feels and all things say that it is, if your belief can be something good could come from this. I don't know what it is. And whatever, it could be terrible. And I know there's terrible things that are out there happening, but we always get to choose just one little thought that's going to move us closer to healing or closer to more joy. Yeah.
And the other part, I think, is I felt from the beginning that the purpose in the diagnosis was bigger than me. And there was more that God wants to use me for through it. And so I also am like, okay, well, Lord, I'm getting messages from you of what part of that purpose is. And if I'm getting the right messages, which I believe with everything in me that I am and I have, then you will show me the healing path through this.
You're going to need me
And
for these things.
and yeah, and I just hope and pray that I'm able to help other people to not fear and to know that there is more than one option. Choose what you want. But there are more options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're already doing that. That's what's so cool too. We had no idea. We don't know what's coming either, but like to be here and have this opportunity to talk to an audience of whoever's listening. Is pretty remarkable. And here you are already doing that. It's pretty cool. And I know
Very
some
grateful.
of the great things that are coming. And all right. Thank you.
Yes. We might only get through P today.
I know. We're probably just going to do the P today. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Physically, me, I think just an update, a quick update on I had the cortisone shot. My hip is still feeling good. I feel a little twingy right now. But gosh, I went to Colorado. I just got back last night, and that was amazing. Stayed with TJ and his prego wife, our daughter-in-law, Olivia, and she's so precious. Get to feel the baby kick all kinds of times. Anyway, so we went on a couple, 3 hikes, and they weren't crazy hard hikes, but there was a lot of steps, which I was worried about, like they build into the side of the mountain, and they're like, big steps. So I'm having to really use those hip flexors, and so it feels good. A couple of things in the works that I didn't know were a thing. My friend Michelle Clark, hi Michelle, functional medicine doctor, brilliant, extraordinary human being and doctor. She was telling me about, and I think my friend Julie just got this new shot, and I don't know what it's called. So my goal, is to wait as long as possible, with the inevitability of probably some sort of surgery down the road. That being said, there's this new shot. It is not cortisone, because we do know the negative stuff about cortisone, when it breaks down and all the things. Don't want to do that anymore. There's a shot of something. I can't recall what it is. I'm trying to find out what it is, but it's very promising. And it lasts up to a year.
Wow.
And it doesn't have any bad stuff. Like it's not bad for you long-term or whatever. So I'm really excited about that. I'll keep you all posted on what that's going to be. So, just working on that. I'm working on balancing hormones through a particular diet that I'm doing with Dr. Hunter. Really wanting to work out inflammation, balance hormones, the same stuff that we're constantly working on. Just living a great life. Yeah. Everything feels good. I feel great. I'm going to get my hair cut. That's part of my body, right?
Okay.
I'm going to get my hair cut finally from this one person that her name is Ali, and she's amazing. And that's sort of a treat for me. I haven't been able to go to her for a long time. And so anyway, just,
Is she just
that's
booked
very
up?
exciting. She's what?
Is she just booked up a lot of the time?
Well, she lives in Iowa City, and she did my hair for a long time. And then she moved to Iowa City like 5 years ago. And so it just became really hard to travel. And so I've not had my hair cut by my haircut person. Now, the girl that has done my hair is great. But I really am excited to go see Ellie.
Good.
Anyway, that's kind of part of my body. So that's good news. Yeah, that's it. How about intellectually for you?
Intellectually, things are really, really good. Lots of things that challenge me, which is what I love when it comes to intellectual stuff. So I feel super great about the books and the things that I'm learning right now.
I'm going to go back to physically for me.
Okay.
Do you know why?
Good. Was it the diet thing?
I can talk about that. We could, yeah. No, it was because it just came to me. Did I really intentionally, like the purpose of this podcast is not to blow by a bunch of, what do you call the PIES is what is it? PIES. It's a
the acronym.
Acronym. Thanks.
Okay.
Is that what it is? An acronym? Yeah. It's not to blow through all of them. It's to go someplace. Right. Yeah. So I'm coming back intentionally to physical. What do I need to share about that? I think, okay, so to be totally vulnerable, the hip thing does feel good. I'm nervous about any pain coming back. I don't feel good. The reason why I'm doing the diet that ReShonda talked about is because the menopause situation has been challenging. So I just want to be really, really real about that.
Yeah.
It's been very challenging. I have been, doing the lifting weights, getting the protein, doing all the things. What else was I doing? Taking all my supplements, recommended supplements, and high quality supplements. And I'm doing all the things, meditating, cold plunging. Don't have a sauna yet. Working on that. Doing my best to eat well. That's always, always the thing, is how to eat, especially during menopause, I really think. And finding out how is your metabolic health. I got a lumen to figure out, am I what's the word when you can switch back and forth?
Metabolically flexible.
The flexibility. Am I metabolically flexible? The lumen is intended to show me that. And so I'm doing all the things. And the part I want to share is that it's frustrating. And I don't like that I am 12 to 13 pounds overweight. And why I say that is, it really, truly, I can't say it's never about body image, because come on. I mean, I want to look good when I'm,
Of course.
naked. I want to look good from,
Right?
when I go swimming. I want to
Yeah.
feel confident. It's not even about looking good. I accept aging. Your skin isn't going to be what it is when you're 20. It's nothing like that for me. I'm not thinking about that. I do want to feel confident in my body. And we talked about this briefly. The confidence in my body comes when I know it's healthiest. That's
Yes,
it.
right?
I mean,
Yes.
my body shows that when, it looks strong,
Right.
it doesn't have excessive fat around the body, or the middle section where, I know that's not metabolically healthy,
Right.
so that's what it is for me. It's the frustration around, I'm doing the things. I still have this weight around my belly. I know that that is not healthy for me. And then it can cause fear for me. My dad died of a glioblastoma, which is brain cancer. And, uh, you know, I, I work in senior living. I see a lot of dementia and, Alzheimer's diagnosis, and people that are taking care of their loved ones. I don't want to do any of that. I want to skip
I
over
know.
all of that.
Right?
I want to feel great. So I just didn't want to blow by that.
Good.
Like I felt like I did. Like, oh, yep, I'm
Okay.
great. Let's go. I am okay. This is what I'm doing right now. And that is why I'm doing um, a particular diet through the functional medicine center with Dr. Violet Hunter. And this is not a plug for anything. We're not affiliated with them or anything, but I am very excited about it. It wasn't covered by insurance, but there's a very specific science behind it. And we were laughing because the first 2 days of this is you have to eat 4,000 calories for the first 2 days. The rest of the time, you do not count calories. It is not about that. It is about, and it isn't really even hard. It's honestly just you're cutting out refined sugars, and you're basically just eating your vegetables and clean protein. And you get 1 serving of berries, preferably like right before you eat, a couple hours before you eat. So actually it is not an unfamiliar way of eating to me.
Right.
So just the science of it. So I'm really pumped about that, and just really getting hormonally and metabolically balanced, and what that's going to look like and feel like, how my sleep is going to be, just how I'm going to feel. And yes, getting rid of the belly fat, because that is an indicator of all kinds of things I don't want to be involved with.
I know, like you as a healthcare professional, you
Yeah.
understand like
Yeah.
the visceral fat that,
Yep.
and it's something that women, as we get into our 40s and our 50s in particular, sometimes even as early as our 30s, because of our hormonal shifts,
Mm-hmm.
the visceral fat, which like we've never really probably dealt with a whole lot,
Mm-hmm.
like I'd say for either one of us in our adult lives.
Mm-hmm.
But during this whole time of perimenopause, menopause,
Yes.
it's just what happens when we start
Mm-hmm.
to lose estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
But there are things, and I'm so happy for you that you're finding something that, would
Yeah.
help with that, because it is frustrating.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because you do all the right things.
Yeah.
You eat well, and you walk, and you
I do.
meditate,
I
and
do. I
you
walk
like
and
you do
meditate,
all the
lift weights.
things.
Yeah.
But
All
even
of it
those
can be
drops,
better.
the
Oh, yeah.
supplements, like
Yeah. So there's these magic drops of supplement. There's
yeah,
supplements that come with the plan. and you were just looking at the bottle. Which is why we had to break, because these first 2 days, it's for the first 2 days you take one of the drops. There's like 5 different bottles of drops that you take through the 6 weeks. So it's 6 weeks long, and they have to be taken every 7 hours. So it's real broken down to science, and I've never done anything like this. And so, but I'm very excited about it. I do want to say, no, I have not dealt with a lot of visceral fat or belly fat in my life. I want to say that's because I absolutely believe it's because I understood what was going on in my body. I
Yeah.
understood the importance of prevention. I just wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel good. I had a lot of kids, a lot of pregnancies. I wanted to be strong.
Yeah.
My dad always instilled really good values there. I was an athlete when I was young. So all those things were instilled in me when I was young. So I'm not saying I just naturally would just never had, it wasn't that. It was, I just knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful that I had the education early on and made those choices. And then what I didn't know, I'm now knowing and now reversing, right? So
Exactly.
not knowing how important estrogen was, that was not part of my plethora of knowledge, that just wasn't anything I knew.
Yeah.
Had I known, which is why we're so passionate about talking about some of these things, is we want you all to know. We don't want you to have to get there and then reverse stuff or be in it and not know you're even in it and go, why is all this happening to me?
Yeah.
I mean, did we talk about the depression part for me? And then we'll be done talking about physical, because I want to just make sure we do touch on the other things. So I hear Sunny in my head right now going, nope, stay there. Stay right where you're at as long as you need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with Sunny on that.
All right. So what was I saying? Sorry. This is menopause right there. Forget what you're going to say. Oh, just not knowing about a lot. So part of that, what can be part of menopausal symptoms, perimenopause, and then throughout menopause, postmenopause even, is depression. So I never had any sort of, when you have really bad cramps, I don't even know what it's called.
Like
That's
PMS.
PMS. I never had that, but like 5 years ago or something, maybe 6 years ago, time flies. But I never had suffered from depression or anything ever. Very pretty happy person.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I would know it was coming. I felt it coming, like just a heaviness. It was, if I could describe it, like I do all these visual things in my mind, like it's out in my yard and I see it coming, and it's coming. It's like that guest that pulls up at your door. You don't really want them to be there, but they're coming.
But they're coming anyway.
They're coming anyway. And there's just nothing I could do about it. And I got to the point where, so it would happen like once every couple of months, maybe every 3-4 months. And I got to the point where I knew, and so that it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Guest is coming. I would let Todd know, and I'd be like, and there's nothing he could do, and he'd ask, "What can I do?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm just basically gonna lay down on the couch, and I'll be up when it goes away." And that's how it would be. And so I know there's so many people
how long would
experiencing
that
this.
last for you?
I'm gonna say I mean, I was probably pretty lucky. At the most, probably a day and a half.
Okay.
So it's not very long, but it was heavy. It was heavy. And I would have to, like, life just doesn't stop, right? Like I'm working or I have kids and whatever. If I could make it all happen where I just laid there and didn't move, I did that if I could. Otherwise, it was literally like I had to force myself to get up. I feel it now, even viscerally, like even talking about it, you can, and I know so many of you, if you're listening and I've had this, you know what I'm talking about. But then it would go away. So I didn't know what that was. I feel like I thought it was probably something to do with getting older, and I knew conceptually about whatever menopause was, but I didn't have any idea about the real deal with the estrogen stuff. So it was shocking and not shocking when I found out how low it was when I had to ask for it. I had to ask to have all my labs done, a full panel. I had to ask for that.
Right. Same here.
They're very much only deal with menopause if you're going to share symptoms with them, and then it will be. You don't have to have hot flashes to ask about your your estrogen levels, or to say, hey, I'm this old, I'd like to know what's the deal. But they really, most of the time, women don't know to even do anything unless I'm having hot flashes, which I never had.
See, I don't have hot flashes
Yeah,
either.
good.
No.
Well, you're doing so. ReShonda is not having hot flashes. Why? Because number one, you are educated to know what's going on. You're taking high quality supplements. You're eating well. You are lifting weights. You are walking. You are doing all the things. You're mindful of your stress. You're mindful of your sleep. You've got a Fitbit, so you're checking your sleep scores. You're doing all the things that are shocking your estrogen into continuing to do its thing.
Yeah.
And if you need to, then you would be open to getting estrogen or hormone replacement therapy if you needed to. I don't know what that means with your cancer, though, that diagnosis, what they would say about that at this point. I don't know. What would they say?
I would not do a systemic estrogen, but if I needed to do, like a vaginal one. Yeah.
There are other things besides the systemic one. So anyway, so that's what happened with the depression stuff. And I'm not dealing with that anymore. I do have an estradiol patch. We did. So I got my Dutch test done. Wow. I just skipped over all this with me. So I got my Dutch test done and had my appointment with Dr. Hunter a week ago or something. It was right before 2 weeks ago or something. Okay. And still when I found out, I wish I had all this paperwork with me, but it was pretty surprising because I had been on the estradiol patch, which is this little estrogen patch, and progesterone, which is an oral one that I take every night. The estradiol patch I just wear on my hip, and every weekly I change it from side to side. I hardly know it's there. My estrogen was at an 11 when I started, which is super low, barely there.
Yeah.
And that was September in 2024. So I just was tested. So approximately 9 months later, right? No. Yes. No. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Yeah. Well, 8 months later. So about 8 months after I started, I just had it. My labs came back and my estrogen is still very low. I can't remember what the number is, but it's pretty low still. Now there's different indicators. There's one thing so your body's supposed to move the estrogen out also. So you're supposed to do its thing and then your body moves the estrogen out. There's an indicator there that is sluggish, if you will. It is not moving it out efficiently. So these are the things that are really important to know for your well-being and prevention and just experiencing,
Are you
well-being.
Doing anything to?
Yeah. So the plan was then to reset hormonal balance with this particular diet I'm doing is our first step. There are supplements that I can take to start helping to move that out better. There was no over-the-counter things offered for that, in which I don't think they need to be. Even talking to my friend Michelle, sharing these results with her. So the plan is to start the diet to see what happens then, and then we'll do labs again to test to see. But it also has a lot to do with gut health. I mean, it's just so all connected. Yeah. And I know that I've struggled with gut health, weirdly, for a long time, and just really trying to figure that all out. So
so much around
that.
And
it's I'm very grateful also. I think that's also why I want to talk about this so much is that I am fortunate that my husband earns an income that isn't exuberant in any way. However, we prioritize our health. And so even though functional medicine doctoring is not, in my case, covered by any insurance, it was very worth it for me to go in and invest in this. Because if you think about what a cancer diagnosis can cost, what a heart surgery can cost,
a stroke,
what a stroke can cost, what diabetes can cost, all of those things are going to cost way more than my $500 test for a Dutch test, or what my costs are now. I think for all of this was $1,200 and it costs way more than money. So just so you know, cost wise, it was like $1,200 to see her, to have the coaching and the support and the drops for the diet, the 6 weeks to reset everything. I will absolutely keep you all posted on how that's going. My goal. So then let me tell you one more thing about so we always talk about a number as far as weight goes. Part of this is I weigh myself every day, which I don't do. I've never ever been counseled. I don't counsel people to weigh every day or anything like that. For me, it's never been about a number.
Mm-hmm.
It is about how my clothes feel, how I feel. I know when I'm healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I know how I feel. I know enough that I know what those things are.
Yeah.
But there is a number that had consistently I'm 58 now, over the 58 years, when I have been at that number, which is 137, I know that I've been the fittest. I feel the best. I'm sleeping the best.
Yeah.
I have energy. Just all the things that you would want.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one indicator, right? I'm not saying that is the indicator in any way, but it is a indicator for me. And it was interesting because I'm 12 pounds over that indicator when I saw Dr. Hunter, and told her the number, and she goes, well, let's step on this scale, this metabolic scale. What's it called? The hand holding thing.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.
Oh my gosh. I'm forgetting.
I'm sorry. You know,
it's a body impedance scale.
Yeah. So it's a way, it measures all this stuff, and it's not like a religiously accurate thing. That does a lot of stuff with water also. But so it's not 100% anything, but it is a great indicator of how things are in your body, and it's going to tell you, you know, here's what you need to do to be at your optimal health, and it's going to give you a number. And actually, my number was 136. Okay. So I thought it was 137. It's actually 136. Okay. So I was like, well, damn, one more. Okay. So no big deal, because I know my body does its thing when it's given what it needs, and I'm providing it and loving it. Yeah. Like when I'm loving it, like you said that so well, when I am loving my body, which means, girl, stop staying up and reading till your eyeballs bulge out of your face.
I know, right?
You know, like, that's my treat. I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, you're dumb. You're so dumb. So, you know, things like that. My meditation, so important to me. Even my prayer time, like, you know, just getting my mind right. Right. When I'm loving my body loves me back ferociously. Yes, there are things that come up like menopause, and you got to do some extra things, but yeah, so I think that is all the things going on with me and my health. I do have this wart on my finger that will not go away, but you know what that is also? Michelle told me what this is. If you have a wart, it's gross. I know it's really personal, but it's so nasty, and it's been there for like 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't think I've ever noticed it.
Well, thanks.
Okay.
I can't remember. I want to say it's something to do with gut health.
Oh, okay.
Don't quote me, but I feel like Michelle said it was something to do with gut health. But other than that,
other thing physically that the gut, but then also we don't talk a lot about our liver.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times, like the gut, the liver, they're working together. If there's a problem with one, there may be a problem with the other. You know, the liver, it does so many things. I was listening to something recently saying like there's like 500 functions a day that the liver needs to do.
It's our detoxer.
It's our detoxer. And I knew that I had a sluggish liver because, like I said, my body is always talking to me or giving me signs. Yeah. I had this dark spot on the left side of my tongue, and I knew from going to Tara with acupuncturist.
Tara is an acupuncturist in town here. She's awesome.
She is wonderful. And
I saw her at Longhorn. I forgot to tell you that. Saw her out and about. Yeah, she's so sweet.
Yeah, I may need to make another appointment with her. But so when I went to her at first, like my whole tongue in 2022 was like black.
See what she doesn't tell me?
Oh, you didn't know that?
Who knew? I guess I didn't think to ask. How's your tongue today, Shonda? See, this is where you need to tell me stuff.
Do. Sorry, yeah.
Oh my God.
So she writes down dark purple tongue, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so because the doctors will tell you like stick out your tongue, but nobody's telling me why I've got this basically black tongue.
Wow.
And so she was starting to educate me on how every area of your tongue corresponds to a particular part of your body and organs and whatever, and the different systems. And pretty much all of my systems were suffering. And so, started on a protocol with her, and doing
detox thing.
acupuncture, changing my diet from veganism to a more balanced approach. And she was surprised at how quickly things cleared up.
Yes, I know this. Yes.
Right? And so when I went to Hippocrates, I noticed I had a dark spot on my tongue, but I couldn't remember exactly. And I was thinking that was my liver. And so there was an acupuncturist, because that was part of our therapies, was acupuncture. And I confirmed with him. He was like, "Yep, that's your liver." And then with my new health coach, also, we were talking about that. And so just the detoxing of the liver, I think a lot of times we don't think about how much stress our liver is under. Yeah, if you take any kind of pharmaceutical drug, or if you eat anything that is not organic, and we're processing through pesticides and all the things.
The lotions you use on your body, your deodorant, your makeup, your shampoo,
all the things.
Your clothing.
Right?
I mean,
people just need to be mindful of how hard our livers work, and that we do need to focus on some things that can help to detox that. Because I think people would be surprised. And I think as part of my liver detox protocol, I've also just been able to pretty effortlessly lose additional pounds as my liver starts to get healthier. And I can tell with that spot on my tongue, it's starting to lighten up, which, is obvious improvement there.
Yeah. So. I just think, to come back to, we got the P of the pies. That's what we did today.
We got the P.
We'll talk more about the other ones at another time, but this was good that we intentionally did more. So thank you for my kids saying go deeper.
Yes.
It was really good. I just think that your point too, that just to remember our bodies are these miraculous things. And really, I've experienced it so many times as I cycle through whatever I'm doing and come back to myself and come back to loving my body. It's just miraculous. It does what you want it to do. And we deserve that. And if you're not loving your body, it's such an interesting thing and such a journey worth taking to ask why. Why am I not loving my body, which is what we do, right? Why am I not making choices that I know are best for me, my body, to love me, to be fully present, to love and be fully present in my relationships, which is what everything's about.
Right.
That's the question. That's the question about our physical health. Is this a gift? So let's love it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this whole time talking about feet, pee, gross. Physically, we've been talking about our physical self. Okay. Thank you guys for being here.
So
subscribe and share this.
And
yes,
please
let us know what you want us to talk more about. We appreciate you so much taking the time and listening and supporting, and for all the comments that you send us. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. We love you.
We do.
Yeah. I'm Angie Gray,
and I'm ReShonda Young,
and we are Sister Friends. Okay, that was great. Get out. I'll do everything.
Thanks for tuning in to Sister Friends. We hope these conversations help you see things from a new angle, feel a little more connected, and maybe even laugh along the way.
Remember, whether it's family, work, or those elephants in the room we all deal with, everything really is about relationships.
If you enjoyed this episode, let us know. Share your thoughts, share this podcast with a friend, and let's keep building those connections.
Until next time, stay connected, stay curious, and let's keep growing together.